Hi everyone, my name is FlygonHG, and this is the video of my attempt at a Hardcore Nuzlocke of the Pokémon Emerald Trashlocke ROM hack. To see what I define as Hardcore Nuzlocke rules, check out the description below. But in short, no items in battle, no overleveling past the gym leader's ace, and we're playing on set mode. So for those of you who don't know what the Pokémon Emerald Trashlocke ROM hack is, it's a ROM hack made by the Pokémon content creator Jan, aka Pokémon Challenges. The premise of the ROM hack is to remove all the good Pokémon from the game, leaving only trash Pokémon for you to catch. Meanwhile, the rest of the game is left more or less unaltered, so all the other trainers keep their same Pokémon, while I'm stuck using Pokémon like Sunkern, Goldeen, and Slugma, which are the 3 starters in this ROM hack. I've been wanting to play this ROM hack for quite a while, because unlike a lot of other ROM hacks, it doesn't drastically alter the game or have overly complicated additions. I still get to use my knowledge of the baseline Emerald game, but I get a completely different set of Pokémon at my disposal, so I have to come up with brand new solutions to the challenges that I know very well. The result was a really fun challenge that required me to think on my feet, since I went in with next to zero prior knowledge about which Pokémon I could encounter. I did watch Pokémon Challenges playthrough of this ROM hack at some point during the decade that was the year 2020, but because I have the memory of a goldfish, I don't remember anything other than which starter he used. But definitely be sure to check out Pokémon Challenges' video and subscribe to his channel. The link to the video and his channel are in the description. Before we dive into this ROM hack though, let me ask you something. Have you ever thought about diving into content creation but you had no idea where to start? Well, then this video's sponsor might be able to help you out. This video is sponsored by Wondershare Filmora 10. Wondershare Filmora 10 is a video editing software that is perfect for all types of content creation. It has a ton of preset templates like video effects and filters, and it even comes with a whole library of royalty-free music. Unlike a lot of other video editing softwares, Filmora 10 is incredibly accessible and great for beginners, especially since it's free to try, so you can see how you like it before purchasing it. Check out this video I made in like 2 minutes using a bunch of their cool pre-made filters. This is Bulby. He's precious and he's perfect. Now here's Bulby in a J.J. Abrams movie. Watch out for a bad ending to a sequel series of a beloved franchise, Bulby. Look, now Bulby's in the mirror dimension. Say hi to Dr. Strange for me. And here he is watching a Dynamax battle. The possibilities are endless. The best part of Filmora 10 is that they're adding new features all the time. The most recent update added a bunch of new features like auto reframe, which allows you to instantly recreate the same video in different aspect ratios. So Bulby isn't just a YouTube star. I can show him off to my friends on Instagram, my crazy aunts and uncles on Facebook, and even on that one Tic Tac app that all the kids are talking about. Thanks so much to Wondershare Filmora 10 for sponsoring this video, and be sure to try it out for free using the link in the description. Just as a quick reminder before we start, I play with Species Clause, so I'll be able to reroll encounters until I get a unique encounter, but I can only use one of each unique evolution line. Okay, let's see how this goes. I start the game the same way that you start any Pokemon game, by choosing my starter. But instead of the 3 lovable starters that I normally get to choose from in Pokemon Emerald, Professor Birch scrapes the bottom of the barrel and offers me 3 grade A stinkers. I go with Sunkern, since it starts with Absorb, and therefore gives me a super effective move into the first gym leader. I name my new Sunkern Weeds, and before we even fight May, I make sure to overlevel this thing quite a bit, because Sunkern is literally the worst Pokemon in existence, at least from a base stat total. I get Weeds to level 13 so that it learns Mega Drain, and then I suck May's Torchic dry. Perhaps 13 was a little bit of an overkill, but you can never be too sure with a Sunkern. Once I get Pokeballs, I start catching my first few encounters. On Route 103, I catch a Poochyena, and I name him Mutt. On Route 102, I catch a Zigzagoon. That right there is the Elite Four taken care of. I name her Trash Panda. And then on Route 104, I catch a Sandshrew, and I name him Dirt. In Petalburg Woods, I catch a Spinnerack and name him Cobwebs. Spinnerack's actually a really great encounter, as we'll see in a bit. On Route 116, I catch a Ditto, and I name it Clone. And in Rust Turf Tunnel, I catch a Togepi. I name him Eggshell. And with that, we've got all the possible encounters before the first gym. So I level up my team of 6, which includes everyone but Trash Panda the Zigzagoon, and then I go fight Roxanne. She leads Geodude, and I lead Weeds, who knocks out the Geodude with a Mega Drain. Same thing goes for her second Geodude. Weeds is unstoppable. Third is Nosepass, who blocks Weeds from switching out, so now it's either victory or death for our little corn kernel. After setting up a Growth, I go for a Mega Drain as Nosepass makes the brilliant play to use Harden. Next I set up Growth since another Mega Drain isn't enough for the kill. Nosepass just uses a few tackles as one more Mega Drain takes it out, winning us the first gym badge. Nice work, Weeds. Whoever said you were a bad Pokemon is clearly a moron. Next, it's time for some more encounters. In Granite Cave, I catch a Paris. This is yet another pretty solid encounter, since Parasect has access to Spore at a pretty low level. I name her Detritus. In Dewford Town, I use the old rod to fish up a love disc, but I accidentally kill it with a critical hit tackle. That's okay though, based on Pokemon Challenge's post about the game, I'm pretty sure that all the fishing encounters have been replaced by love discs. So I just go to Route 106 and fish up another love disc. I decide not to kill this one though, so instead I catch it and name him Heartache. Next up, I do some training to prepare for Brawly. Mutt evolves into Mightyena, and I replace Clone the Ditto with Detritus the Paris. Eggshell also evolves into Togetic. Eggshell has the ability Hustle, which is easily one of the worst abilities in the game for Nuzlocking. But Togetic is pretty bulky, and it gets access to Wish and Encore, so it might be good for some utility. Now it's Brawly time. Since all of his Pokemon know Bulk Up, he can actually be pretty tough. Fortunately, this is where Cobwebs the Spinnerack comes in clutch. He has a 4 times resistance to Brawly's fighting type moves, and he knows Nightshade, which will do a set amount of damage equal to Cobweb's level. So Brawly's Machop goes down to a few Nightshades, as it just does a tiny amount of damage with Low Kick. I'm not really sure why it didn't use Seismic Toss, which also does damage equal to the user's level, but I'm not complaining. Meditite comes out next, and since it doesn't have any attacking moves other than Focus Punch, as long as I hit it, it can't do damage. I use weaker moves to try and get it into the range that Brawly will waste a Super Potion here, but a Poison with Poison Sting takes it out before that can happen. Last is Makuhita, and since Makuhita knows his way around a dinner plate, he can actually tank quite a few Nightshades, especially with the Citrus Berry that he has. Cobwebs gets him into the red, but then I switch to Eggshell when Brawly uses a Super Potion. I use Charm as Brawly uses Bulk Up. Then I use Yawn as Vital Throw does a decent chunk of damage. Then I switch to Cobwebs, and 3 more Nightshades is enough to finish off the Makuhita before it can do much damage. That's badge number 2. From here, I have to fight May. Before that though, I catch a Seedot on Route 110 and name her Mulch. Into the box you go. Then Cobwebs evolves into Ariados, and Dirt evolves into Sandslash. And with that, our team is actually looking kinda decent. All things considered, of course. These Pokemon aren't all-stars by any means, but I could be doing a lot worse. So May isn't too tough. She leads Wingull, and I lead Mutt, who takes out the Wingull with 2 bites. Combuskin is second, so I switch to Cobwebs, anticipating a double kick, but it just uses Focus Energy. So I switch back to Mutt to lower Combuskin's attack with Intimidate. Then I switch to Eggshell. I go for a Charm, but it misses thanks to Hustle, and then a critical hit Ember, followed by a Burn, leave Eggshell with just 10 health. Thanks for nothing, Eggshell. So next I switch to Heartache, who tanks an Ember. Heartache then hits a critical hit Water Gun, which leaves Combuskin with 1 HP. A final Water Gun finishes off Combuskin after it just does some damage with Double Kick. Last is Lombre, so I switch to Detritus and suck it dry with a few Leech Lives. Even with my garbage Mons, May never stood a chance. Past Mauville City, on Route 117, I find a Volbeat. It's a pain to catch, and not nearly as useful as Illumise, but with Tail Glow, it'll be a pretty great addition to the roster. I name him Grub. Then Detritus evolves into Parasect. And then Grub dies during some training that I wasn't actually recording. I kinda forgot that Beautifly would have Gust here, and a crit took out Grub from almost full health. So much for Tail Glow. Rest well, soldier. With our first death out of the way, it's time for Watson. Dirt will be pretty useful here, but since he doesn't actually know a ground type move, this will actually still be kinda tricky. Watson leads Voltorb, and I lead Mutt. Mutt uses a few bites to take out Voltorb and manages to get Watson to waste a Super Potion along the way. Electrike comes out, and Mutt hits another bite, which not only flinches, but also doesn't activate static. Pretty incredible stuff. A second bite takes out the Electrike, and still no static. Crazy. Magneton is next, so I hit it with a Sand Attack before it uses Thunder Wave, but a Cherry Berry cures my paralysis. So I go for another Sand Attack as Magneton hits a second Thunder Wave. Then I switch to Dirt, who's immune to Shockwave. And then I just start going for Rock Smashes. Rock Smash is a very weak 20 base power move in this game, but between the 50% chance to drop its defense and Magneton missing most of its attacks, things work out fine. I do have to switch to Eggshell to shake off a confusion, but eventually Magneton goes down. Last is Monetric, but it can only use Quick Attack, so I hit it with a Slash. Then I hit it with a Rock Smash, which finally triggers static. Now here come the full paras. Fortunately, Quick Attack does very little damage. After being fully paralyzed 3 times, I switch to Detritus, who gets hit with a critical hit Quick Attack. Then she misses a Poison Powder as she gets hit with a Shockwave. Come on, Detritus, I know you're literally named after decaying crap, but help me out here just a little. On the next turn, she manages to hit the Poison Powder, so I switch back to Dirt. Watson uses his final Super Potion, and then I get fully paralyzed again. Sure, Dirt is finally able to take down Monetric, but that was way too close for comfort. Gotta love the Watson fight. It's always a fun time. Next up, we get a whole slew of new encounters. From Route 112, I get a Spoink, and I name him Slop. He joins the team in place of Eggshell. Why don't you just go hustle your way into the box, buddy? In Fiery Path, I catch a Ponyta and name her Runt. On Route 113, I catch a Spinda and name him Junk. And on Route 114, I catch a Voltorb and name him Litter. I do have big plans for Litter later, but for now, he's going into the box. But when it's time for him to shine, it's gonna be a blast. In Meteor Falls, I catch a Mawile. Mawile's not a particularly good Pokemon, but it's still a Steel-type Pokemon, and it has Intimidate. So in the grand scheme of things, it's definitely not terrible. I name him Rust, and he joins the rotation, which at this point is about 8 Pokemon that cycle in and out based on the challenge. By the way, our starter Weeds the Sunkern is definitely out of the rotation. It's better to be kicked off the team than to die in over your head, right? Anyways, looking over my footage as I write this script, I guess I just sort of forgot to catch something on Ravage Path. That, or I just didn't record it. So I guess it's time for Flannery. She leads Numel, and I lead Heartache. A Water Gun knocks it out in one shot, and then Slugma comes out. And I don't actually one-shot it with Water Gun, because Love Disc is really truly garbage, so it gets a Sunny Day Up. But another Water Gun does finish it off, and then Camera Up comes out. I decide to hit it with an Attract to stall out the sun. Then Camera Up retaliates with an Attract of her own. And suddenly, I find myself amidst a battlefield of love. The classic tale of Romeo and Juliet unfolds in front of my eyes. Star-crossed lovers pit against one another, struggling to fight through their undying love. Heartache is able to fire off some water guns, and Camerupt will occasionally retaliate with a tackle or set up a sunny day. But on other turns, their love burns too deep, and infatuation stops them from attacking. These two lovers seemed fated to be locked in combat for all of eternity. Until the unthinkable happens. Heartache lives up to his name and fires a devastating final blow to his lover. Camerupt, eyes wide, falls to the ground, gasping for life. Heartache realizes too late what he has done. He stares, mortified at the scene unfolding. Camerupt, choking on blood, reaches her hoof out for Heartache. He runs to her side, his vision blurring from the tears streaming down his face. He knows it's his fault. Camerupt weakly gestures for him to come closer. Heartache leans in so close that his ear is but an inch from Camerupt's beautiful lips, now white as a ghost. Camerupt musters every last ounce of energy she has to whisper 4 final words into the ear of her lover, the same man who will be charged as her murderer. Do not blame yourself. And with that, she's gone. Flannery brings in Torkoal, so Heartache hits it with a water gun. Then Torkoal lands a body slam, which apparently has a 100% chance to paralyze. Torkoal then sets up a sunny day, and Heartache gets fully paralyzed, perhaps still not over the loss of Camerupt. So I switch to Eggshell, who gets hit by an overheat, which in the sun is able to knock it out from full health. Oh no, who's gonna miss 100% accurate attacks now? Don't let the door hit you on the way out, Eggshell. I bring in Slop next, since he has the ability Thick Fat. He hits a Psybeam, which confuses Torkoal, who then hits herself in confusion. Very lucky. 2 more Psybeams finish off the Torkoal, winning us the 4th gym badge. From here, I get 2 more encounters in the desert. In Mirage Tower, I catch a Kabuto, and I name him Silt. Silt has the ability Battle Armor, which prevents critical hits. It's an amazing ability for Hardcore Nuzlocks. He replaces Heartache, who goes to grieve in the box. On Route 111, I catch a Cacnea and name him Dust. While leveling up my team, I actually find a shiny Ditto. Since I already have a Ditto as a legal encounter, I go ahead and catch this one and release the previous Ditto. There, I didn't kill the shiny. Are you happy? Now it's time for some father-son bonding. Norman leads Spinda, and I lead Dirt. Dirt takes out the Spinda with 2 returns, as it just does a bit of damage with Psybeam. Vigoroth comes out next, and it's able to outspeed, so it does a good chunk of damage before going down. Third is Lanoon, who uses Headbutt, which flinches. But on the next turn, it uses Belly Drum, so a return takes it out. Last is Slaking, so I switch to Rust for an Intimidate, and also to tank a Fachade. Then I use Fake Tears on Slaking's Loafing turn. Then I switch to Mutt, who gets hit with a Yawn. I do a bit of damage with Bite before falling asleep. Then it's back to Rust, who gets hit with another Yawn. So I switch to Detritus. Slaking hits a Yawn on Detritus, who then retaliates with a Spore. Then it's back to Rust. Slaking wakes up on his next non-loafing turn, so the Spore was a waste of time, but I managed to get 2 Fake Tears off. Then I hit it with a Feint attack as Slaking goes for another Yawn. To avoid falling asleep, I switch to Silt, and then I hit it with a Rock Tomb to lower its speed. Finally, I switch to Slop, who is able to outspeed and finish off the Slaking with a Psybeam. It's pretty cool to see everyone on the team contribute to that fight and work together. It's almost like we're a family, and honestly, nothing is more important than family. F you, Norman, you suck. As a reward for landing the final blow, Slop evolves into Grumpig. Now that I can use Surf, I can get a bunch more trash encounters. But for the sake of time, from here on out, I'm going to be skipping encounters unless they meaningfully contribute to the run. Don't worry though, I'll show you my box before the Elite Four so that you can still yell at me for not using certain Pokemon. The only notable captures here are a Masquerain from the pond in Petalburg City. I name her Pesticide. And on Route 120, I catch a Minun, and I name her Discharge. Discharge is actually going to be a great addition to the roster. She knows Encore, and she'll have a really strong stab into Winona's flying types. Never mind, another training death I wasn't recording. Just for context, I don't always record everything because it makes editing the final video a lot easier, but sometimes it really sucks when I miss stuff like this. I'm actually surprised that it doesn't happen more often. In this case, I was grinding levels on a bunch of Marill, and I wasn't paying attention to what level this one was, and it got a critical hit double edge for the kill. Whoops. Alright, well it's Winona time anyways. She leads Swablu and I lead Mutt. I start setting up Howls as Swablu just uses Safeguard and Mirror Move. I get greedy and go for a third Howl, but then Swablu uses Perish Song, so Mutt's on a timer now. A Strength kills Swablu, and then Tropius comes out. Strength isn't enough for the one-shot, and now that Mutt's Perish counter is down to 1, I have to switch out to Rust. Then Winona uses a Hyper Potion. So I use Fake Tears as Tropius does negligible damage with Aerial Ace and also sets up a Sunny Day. After 3 Fake Tears, I switch to Slop and take out the Tropius with a Psybeam. Third is Pelipper, but after it wastes a turn protecting, classic Pelipper, Slop hits it with a Shockwave for the one-shot. That one's for Venom. Fourth is Skarmory, so I switch to Rust, who gets hit with a Sand Attack. I go for a Fake Tears, but I miss the first one thanks to Sand Attack accuracy drops. After I land 2, I switch to Mutt, who gets hit with a critical hit Steel Wing. So then I switch back to Rust and use another Fake Tears. Then a few Feint Attacks take out the Skarmory as Rust tanks some Steel Wings. Last is Alteria, who will always Dragon Dance on the first turn. So I go for a Fake Tears. Then I switch to Pesticide, and then I switch back to Rust. And then it's back to Pesticide. And I repeat this over and over and over again. Intimidates from Pesticide and Rust lower Alteria's attack, forcing it to keep using Dragon Dance. But after 6 Dragon Dances, Alteria maxes out its speed, so the AI won't go for it anymore. Then Alteria starts using Earthquake on Rust, which Pesticide is immune to, and Aerial Ace on Pesticide, which Rust resists. This allows me to cycle through Intimidates to lower Alteria's attack until it starts using Dragon Breath. Then I switch to Silt, who can't get crit thanks to Battle Armor, so it's guaranteed to survive 2 Dragon Breaths. This allows me to hit a hard Rock Tomb, which lowers Alteria's speed. This makes Alteria go for another Dragon Dance, as a Citrus Berry means that I can tank another Dragon Breath. So I hit it with a Leer. Then Alteria hits a Dragon Breath, and Silt finishes it off with a final Rock Tomb. It wasn't the cleanest victory, since Rock Tomb could have missed, or Dragon Breath could have paralyzed, but it worked. That's badge number 6. Next, I catch about 14 new Pokemon from around the map as I do various Team Aqua and Team Magma fights that continue the story. The only notable encounter in the batch is a Mantine that I catch on Route 131. I name him Airhead. He'll be useful later. But for now, he goes into the box. And now it's time for Tate and Liza. Even in a regular playthrough, this battle can be pretty tough. But I brought a ringer to this fight. Dirt the Sandslash sits this one out to open up space for Litter, who has evolved from Voltorb into Electrode. And Litter is our secret weapon. Litter has been preparing for this moment for his entire life. Tate and Liza lead Claydol and Xatu, and I lead Mutt and Litter. Mutt goes for a Protect, and then Litter does what he was born to do. He dies, and in his fiery self-sacrifice, he knocks out Claydol and Xatu in one shot. Rest well, Litter. Thank you for your sacrifice. Tate and Liza bring out Solrock and Lunatone, and I bring out Silt to replace his fallen brethren. A Shadow Ball and a Surf is enough to finish off the Solrock, and then the Lunatone uses Calm Mind. But then another Shadow Ball and Surf knock it out, winning us an easy 7th gym badge. Next up, it's more story stuff that I'll just skip. But in the Seafloor Cavern, I find an Onyx as my encounter. I'm not really sure how she got there, but I catch her and I name her Crap. Now it's time for Juan. I have a bunch of Pokemon in the box that would definitely make this fight easier, but I'm way too lazy to level them up, so I'm just gonna go for it with my current team. Juan leads Luvdisc, and I lead Detritus. Luvdisc goes for a Sweet Kiss, which is cured with a Person Berry, and then Detritus hits a Spore. Then I switch to Slop. I set up Substitute as Luvdisc wakes up. Then I start setting up Calm Minds, which is my favorite strategy for the Emerald late game. An Attract from Luvdisc actually connects through Substitute, which I didn't know it could do. I guess nothing stops true love. Well, except a Calm Mind boosted Psychic. Crawdaunt comes out next, so I Calm Mind again as the Crawdaunt hits a Crabhammer, which finally breaks my sub. But then I set up another one, and Crabhammer misses. So I set up another Calm Mind. Then Taunt connects through Substitute, which is also news to me, so I kill the Crawdaunt with a Shockwave. Then Wishcash comes out, and it goes down to a Psychic. Fourth is Celio, who goes down to a Psychic as well. Last is the Kingdra, who immediately starts setting up with Double Team, which is why I use Shockwave. It uses Rest to try to heal, but since Shockwave is a 2-hit kill, a few turns later, it goes down. And that's the 8th and final badge. Now it's time for the Elite Four. As promised, here's my boxed Pokemon. There's a lot of decent Pokemon in here that are probably better than the ones I've picked. Zigzagoon, for example, could pretty much sweep the entire Elite Four on its own if I bothered to evolve it into a Lanoon. I've shown that before. But I wanted to have some fun with some other Pokemon, and I was too lazy to train up a bunch of new Pokemon anyways. So here's the final team. The one change I've made is that I've replaced Dirt the Sandslash with Airhead the Mantine, so that I have a semi-decent Ice Beam user for Drake's Dragon types. Oh, also, one of the few other changes that PC made to this ROM hack is that he made the Game Corner inaccessible, so the only Ice Beam TM I have access to is the one that I can get from the abandoned ship. Anyways, let's see if this band of misfits has what it takes. First is Sydney, and as usual, this is pretty easy. I spore the Mightyena with Detritus, and then I switch to Silt. And then Silt one-shots with Brick Prick. Oh. This might be the first time I've ever not knocked out Sydney's Pokemon in one shot. That doesn't bode well for the rest of the Elite Four. Well, Cacturn comes out next, so I switch to Detritus, who gets hit with a Cotton Spore. Then I hit a Leech Life, which leaves Cacturn with a Sliver. Another one takes it out though. Absol is third and sets up a Swords Dance as I put it to sleep. Then I switch to Silt, and Brick Break leaves Absol with a Sliver. This is kind of ridiculous. Fortunately, Absol stays asleep, so another Brick Break finishes it off. Fourth is Shiftry, which doesn't know a grass move, so I hit a Brick Break, which leaves Shiftry with a Sliver. A Swagger confuses Silt, so I switch to Detritus as Shiftry heals. Then he goes for a Double Team as I hit a Leech Life. Shiftry uses Swagger, and then Detritus hits himself in confusion for a huge chunk of damage. So I switch to Slop and hit a Shockwave, which does basically nothing. Whoops. After that, I switch to Mutt, and a Return finally finishes off the very annoying Shiftry. Last is Crawdaunt. I switch to Silt, as Crawdaunt uses a Swords Dance. And then you'll never guess what happens when I use Brick Break. But fortunately, Crawdaunt just goes for another Swords Dance, so one more Brick Break wins us the battle. Second is Phoebe, but unlike Sydney, who decided to be difficult for some reason, Phoebe is actually pretty easy, as she always is. I lead Mutt, who howls when Phoebe's Dusclops uses Protect, as she always does. After that, Shadow Balls tear through her whole team. Sableye gets a little cheeky and tries to set up double teams, but Mutt just says no. Her second Dusclops also holds on, but it only hits a very weak Earthquake before going down on the following turn. Easy victory. Third is Glacia, so it's time for a classic substitute Calm Mind sweep. Slop sets up a substitute as Glacia uses Hail. Then we start setting up Calm Minds. I set up another substitute after Celio breaks it, and then I knock it out with a Psychic. Glalie comes out next, so I set up a few more Calm Minds since this Glalie doesn't actually have any physical attacks. After resetting my sub, I hit a Psychic, but Glalie survives thanks to the light screen that it set up earlier. I anticipate a heal here, so I take the opportunity to set up one final Calm Mind. Light screen wears off, and then a single Psychic finishes the Glalie. And now with all those Calm Mind boosts, the second Glalie, the second Celio, and the Walrein all go down to a single Psychic apiece. That's Glacia defeated. Fourth is Drake, and now it's Airhead the Mantine's time to shine. Drake leads Shelgon, which goes for a Protect as it always does, so I set up a Rain Dance. Then Shelgon actually tanks an Ice Beam, so Drake uses a full Restore. Two more Ice Beams finish it off, and then the Salamence comes out. If I couldn't kill the Shelgon in one shot, I'm not actually sure that an Ice Beam will one-shot the Salamence. I decide to just risk it and find out, but I guess we'll never know because Airhead gets a critical hit. Nice job, buddy. Alteria is third and tanks an Ice Beam, so it's able to get off two pretty big double edges before going down. Fourth is Kingdra, and now things start to get a little dicey. I switch to Detritus as it goes for a Dragon Dance. Kingdra goes for another Dragon Dance as I go for a Spore. Fortunately, Kingdra's only physical move is Body Slam, so I switch to Silt. Then I hit it with a Rock Tomb. This causes Drake to switch out to Flygon for some reason, so I switch to Airhead, who dodges an Earthquake and then knocks out Flygon with an Ice Beam. Kingdra comes back in, so I switch back to Silt as Kingdra wakes up and hits a pretty weak Body Slam. Then I just start hitting Rock Tombs, which causes Kingdra to keep using Dragon Dance to offset the speed drops. I hit 6 Rock Tombs and not a single one misses, so maybe I should go buy a lottery ticket or something. Anyways, Kingdra goes down, and that's Drake defeated. Last up is Champion Wallace. As always, he leads with Wailord. I lead Mightyena for an Intimidate drop, and then immediately switch to Airhead, who tanks a Blizzard. I hit a Soft Surf, and then Wailord sets up a Rain Dance. Then I hit another Surf. From here, I start PP stalling Wailord. I switch around to divvy up the damage and get attack drops from Intimidates. This goes on for a while, but the end goal here is to get Slop in and set up some Calm Minds. When Wailord is at least out of Blizzard and Water Spouts, Detritus attempts a Spore, but Wailord hits a critical hit Double Edge, which bypasses all the stat drops and knocks him out. Not cool, Wailord. From here, I bring in Slop and set up a Substitute. Then I start setting up Calm Minds. Wallace eventually uses a full restore, so Wailord is back to full health, but it doesn't matter. I'm able to set up 6 Calm Minds, get a final Substitute up, and then Psychic takes out the Wailord, and the Tentacruel, and the Ludicolo, and the Whiscash. I mix it up here when the Gyarados comes out and use Shockwave. And then last is Milotic, and I accidentally click Shockwave again, so Milotic hangs on, but it doesn't even matter. Milotic's not even able to break my sub with a Surf, and then it goes down the next turn. That wins us the battle, and the run. I say this about pretty much all of my runs, but that was a really fun one. As I said before, I think this is a really cool ROM hack. It's definitely harder than a regular Emerald Nuzlocke, but it's also not so hard that you can only beat it with one specific set of encounters. It seems like a ROM hack that I could hardcore Nuzlocke over and over again and have completely new teams each time. In my opinion, it's a pretty ideal ROM hack, since it makes the game harder by changing what you can use instead of changing what your opponent uses. I find that to be a bit more creative and a bit more exciting, since you're not really changing the challenge so much as you're changing the materials that you can use to solve the challenge. I'm really looking forward to Pokemon Challenge's next ROM hack, which I believe is going to be a similar ROM hack of Pokemon Leaf Green called Garbage Green. So stay tuned for that, I'll definitely be trying it out. In the meantime, be sure to check out PC's channel if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed watching, please like the video and subscribe. Or don't. I don't know. But I do know that you should follow me on Twitter and Twitch to keep up with streams of my future challenges, and you should also join the FlygonHG community Discord, where you can discuss Nuzlocking and make recommendations for future challenges. The link is in the description. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.